Commander Kyle stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking out at the small blue planet ahead of them. Earth looked so peaceful from here, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. He had dreamed of this moment for his entire life. After 10,000 years of planning, the Velthari Empire was finally ready to take this world. The bridge was busy with activity. His officers moved around their stations, checking systems and running final tests on their weapons. Everything had to be perfect. They had spent too long preparing for this moment to make any mistakes now. "Commander," called Sub-Commander Yuna from her station near the back of the bridge. She was young for her rank, but she had proven herself in the simulations many times. "All invasion forces are ready. The humans have no idea we are here." Kyle smiled. The humans were so primitive that they couldn't even detect Velthari ships. Their technology was thousands of years behind. While the Velthari had faster-than-light travel and energy weapons, the humans still used chemical rockets that could barely leave their own planet. Navigation Officer Dane looked up from his control panel. "Sir, our final scans show exactly what we expected. The humans have no unified defense system. Their militaries are scattered across hundreds of different nations. Most of their weapons are still kinetic-based projectiles, nothing that can penetrate our shields." This was exactly what their intelligence reports had told them. The humans were divided, weak, and completely unprepared for an invasion. They spent most of their time fighting each other instead of preparing for real threats from space. Chief Strategist Hana walked over to Kyle with a datapad in her hands. She had spent the last 50 years studying human warfare and behavior. If anyone understood these creatures, it was her. "Commander, our final analysis confirms everything we have learned," she said, showing him charts and graphs on her screen. "The humans are emotional and unpredictable. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. This makes them weak in battle." Kyle nodded as he looked at the data. The humans had a strange way of fighting. Instead of the careful, planned battles that the Velthari used, humans seemed to just charge at their enemies without thinking. It was wasteful and stupid. "What about their weapons?" he asked. "Primitive," Hana replied immediately. "They still use bullets and explosives. Some of their larger nations have nuclear weapons, but these are so old and slow that our shields can easily stop them. Our energy weapons will cut through their armor like it's made of paper." Intelligence Officer Rin joined the conversation. She had been monitoring human communications for months, learning their languages and studying their military structure. "The humans have no experience fighting anyone except themselves," she reported. "Every war they have ever fought has been against other humans using similar technology. They have never faced energy weapons, force fields, or anti-grav vehicles. They will not know how to respond." This was the key to their victory. The Velthari had studied every human conflict for the past 500 years. They knew exactly how humans fought, what tactics they used, and how they would react to different situations. The invasion plan took all of this into account. "Show me the target zones again," Kyle ordered. A large holographic display appeared in the center of the bridge. Earth rotated slowly, with red markers showing where the first wave of attacks would land. The Velthari had chosen the largest human cities and most important military bases. "We will hit Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, and Moscow simultaneously," Hana explained, pointing at each location. "These cities contain the main governmental and military leadership. Once we control them, the rest of the planet will surrender. Quickly." The plan was simple and effective. The Velthari would use their superior technology to quickly overwhelm human defenses. Dropships would land elite troops in the city centers while orbital bombardment took out military bases and communication centers. With their leaders captured or dead, the remaining humans would have no choice but to submit. "How long do we expect the operation to take?" asked Yuna. "Our simulations show complete victory within 12 hours, replied Hana. "Most likely much sooner. The humans have never faced anything like us before. Their primitive weapons and disorganized militaries will collapse immediately." Kyle felt proud as he listened to his officers. The Velthari were the most advanced military force in the galaxy. They had conquered 47 worlds and never lost a single battle. Each victory had taught them something new, making them stronger. and more efficient. The humans would be their easiest conquest yet. What about human psychology? Kyle asked. Will they fight or surrender? Rin pulled up more data on her screen. Our studies show that humans are cowards when faced with superior force. They prefer to run away rather than fight battles they cannot win. Once they see our technology, most will immediately surrender. And the ones who do fight? They will die quickly, said Hana with confidence. Human soldiers are poorly trained compared to our warriors. They have soft skin that can be easily injured, weak bones that break under pressure, and slow reflexes that cannot match our combat systems. The Velthari were different. Their skin was covered with natural armor plates that could stop small weapons. Their bones were dense and strong, and their reflexes were 3 times faster than any human. In addition, they had trained for this invasion for decades. Every Velthari soldier knew exactly what to do. They had practiced in simulations that recreated every possible scenario. They knew the layout of human cities, the locations of military bases, and the best routes to important targets. Nothing had been left to chance. Sir, called Communications Officer Gina from her station. We are receiving the final reports from our scout ships. All human military forces are in normal positions. No signs that they suspect anything. This was perfect. The humans had no idea that the largest invasion fleet in Velthari history was sitting just outside their solar system. Their primitive sensors could not detect ships using advanced stealth technology. Kyle walked over to the main command console and placed his hand on the activation switch. This single button would begin the invasion that would change history forever. All ships, this is Commander Kale, he announced over the fleet communication system. Today we complete a mission that began 10,000 years ago. Today we add Earth to the Velthari Empire. Throughout the massive fleet, thousands of soldiers prepared their weapons and equipment. Dropships powered up their engines. Orbital bombardment systems charged their energy cannons. Everything was ready. The humans think they are alone in the universe, Kale continued. They think their small planet is safe from threats. Today we will teach them that they were wrong. Today we will show them what real power looks like. He looked around the bridge at his officers. These were the best soldiers the Velthari Empire had ever produced. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. Remember, he said, we are not here to destroy the humans. We are here to conquer them. They will be more useful as workers than as corpses. Use minimum force necessary to achieve victory. This was standard Velthari policy. Dead slaves could not work in mines or build ships. The goal was to capture as many humans as possible, while eliminating only those who refused to surrender. Fleet positions confirmed, reported Dane. All ships ready for atmospheric entry. Target zones identified and locked, added Tactical Officer Bora. Drop ships loaded and prepared for deployment. Kyle took one last look at the peaceful blue planet ahead of them. In a few hours, it would belong to the Velthari Empire. The humans would learn to serve their new masters, just like every other species the Velthari had conquered. Begin the invasion, he ordered, pressing the activation switch. All across the fleet, engines roared to life. Dropships separated from the main vessels and began their descent toward Earth's atmosphere. Energy weapons charged and targeting, systems locked onto military installations. The great Velthari invasion had begun. On the bridge, officers monitored their screens as the first wave approached the planet's surface. Everything was going exactly according to plan. The humans still had not detected the approaching ships. First wave entering atmosphere, reported Yuna. No resistance detected. All systems functioning normally. Communications are clear, added Gina. No signs of alarm from human military forces. Kale smiled. The simulations had been correct. The humans were completely unprepared for what was about to happen to them. In a few minutes, Velthari soldiers would be on the ground in human cities. Their advanced weapons and armor would make them unstoppable. Human police and military forces would be overwhelmed immediately. Sir, called Rin from her intelligence station. I am picking up normal human communications. Nothing unusual. They appear to be going about their daily activities. Perfect. The humans were eating their meals, going to work and playing with their children. completely unaware that their world was about to change forever. "Dropships approaching target zones," announced Bora. "Landing in 30 seconds. Kale watched the tactical display as small dots representing Velthari dropships descended on major human cities. Each ship carried 50 of the Empire's best soldiers armed with the most advanced weapons available. The humans had no idea what was coming. "Landing in 10 seconds, called Bora. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tow. Sub-Commander Yuna felt the dropship shake as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Around her, 50 Velthari elite soldiers sat in their crash seats, checking their weapons one final time. These were the best warriors the Empire had to offer, trained specifically for this invasion. 2 minutes to landing zone," announced the pilot over the intercom. "Target is Seoul City Center, South Korea. Intelligence reports normal civilian activity. No signs of military preparation." Yuna looked out the small window and saw the human city growing larger below them. It looked exactly like the simulations, with tall buildings, busy streets, and millions of humans going about their daily lives. None of them knew that their world was about to change forever. "Remember the protocol," she told her soldiers over the communication system. "We want prisoners, not bodies. The humans are worth more alive than dead. Use stun settings on your weapons unless absolutely necessary." The soldiers nodded. They had practiced this operation hundreds of times. Land in the city center, secure a perimeter, capture local leadership, and wait for reinforcements. The humans would be so shocked by their arrival that resistance would be minimal. 30 seconds to touchdown, called the pilot. Yuna activated her personal force shield and checked her plasma rifle one more time. The weapon could fire energy bolts hot enough to melt steel, but today it was set to non-lethal mode. The goal was conquest, not destruction. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Landing confirmed. Dropship secure. The rear door opened with a hiss, and bright sunlight flooded into the ship. Yuna was the first one out, stepping onto human soil for the first time. The ground felt solid beneath her armored boots. She found herself in what appeared to be a public square surrounded by tall buildings. Humans were everywhere, walking along the streets, sitting at outdoor cafes, and talking on their primitive communication devices. Some had stopped to stare at the alien dropship, but most seemed more curious than afraid. "Perimeter secure," reported Sergeant Hack as his soldiers spread out around the landing zone. No immediate threats detected. Humans appear confused, but not hostile. This was exactly what they had expected. The humans had never seen anything like a Velthari dropship before. They probably thought it was some kind of new aircraft from their own military. "Attention humans," Yuna announced through her suit's external speakers, using the local language that she had learned from intelligence reports. "I am Sub-Commander Yuna of the Velthari Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Do not resist, and you will not be harmed." A crowd was gathering around them now. The humans seemed more excited than frightened, pointing at the aliens and taking pictures with their small electronic devices. Some were even smiling and waving. "They think this is some kind of entertainment," laughed Corporal Jin. "Look at them. They have no idea what is happening." Yuna was starting to feel confident. The invasion was going to be even easier than they had predicted. The humans were treating their arrival like a festival or celebration. Then she noticed a human male approaching from the left side of the square. He was wearing a green uniform and carrying what appeared to be one of their primitive kinetic weapons. According to intelligence reports, this would be a human soldier. The soldier was not running or shouting like Yuna had expected. Instead, he was walking calmly toward them while eating something from a small bowl. He looked completely relaxed, as if alien invasions happened every day. "Single human military target approaching," reported Specialist Rock. "Should I disable him?" "Negative," replied Yuna. "Let him approach. This will be a good opportunity to demonstrate our superiority. The other humans will see how easily we can defeat their soldiers." The human soldier stopped about 20 meters away from them and finished eating from his bowl. Then he set the bowl down on a nearby table and picked up his weapon. "Well," the human said in his own language, which Yuna's translator converted, to Velthari. This is new. Yuna stepped forward, confident in her advanced armor and energy shield. Her plasma rifle was charged and ready, while the human only had a simple projectile weapon that could not possibly penetrate Velthari technology. "Human soldier," she called out. "I am Sub-Commander Yuna. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly." The human looked at her for a moment, then at her soldiers, then back at her. He seemed to be thinking about something. "I don't think so," he replied. Then everything went wrong. The human raised his weapon and fired before Yuna could react. She felt a massive impact against her helmet that sent her stumbling backward. Warning lights flashed inside her armor as systems reported damage. To her head protection, this was impossible. Human weapons were too primitive to damage Velthari armor. But her helmet was cracked, and she could feel air leaking through the break. "Target the human," she shouted to her soldiers, but the human had already moved. Instead of standing in the open like a proper soldier should, he had somehow disappeared behind an overturned food cart. More shots came from his position, and Yuna heard one of her soldiers cry out in pain. "My armor is breached," reported Specialist Rock. "The human weapon penetrated my chest plate. This could not be happening." Velthari armor was designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles. It had been tested against every known weapon in the galaxy. "Return fire," ordered Yuna. Her soldiers raised their plasma rifles and began shooting at the overturned cart where the human was hiding. Bright energy bolts lit up the square as they tried to eliminate the threat, but the human was not where they expected him to be. More shots came from a different location, this time from inside one of the buildings. Yuna saw muzzle flashes from a window on the third floor. Another one of her soldiers fell, his armor smoking from a kinetic projectile that had somehow punched right through it. "Contact left," shouted Corporal Jin. "Multiple human targets." Yuna spun around and saw more human soldiers appearing from various locations around the square. They were not charging forward in a disorganized attack like the simulations had predicted. Instead, they were using the buildings and urban environment to attack from multiple directions at once. "This is not standard human tactics," called Sergeant Hack. "They are coordinating their assault." The humans were fighting in a way that made no sense according to Velthari military doctrine. They did not form proper battle lines or follow predictable movement patterns. Instead, they seemed to appear and disappear at random, always attacking from unexpected angles. "Squad 2, move to flank the humans," ordered Yuna. "Negative, Commander," replied Squad 2 leader. "We are pinned down by sniper fire from multiple buildings." Sniper fire? The intelligence reports had said that human soldiers preferred direct assault tactics, but these humans were using long-range precision shooting to control the battlefield. Yuna tried to contact the other dropships for support, but something was wrong with her communication system. Every time she tried to send a message, she got static and interference. "Commander," called Specialist Rock, "the humans are jamming our communications." This was getting worse by the minute. Human technology was supposed to be too primitive to interfere with Velthari systems, but somehow they were blocking military-grade communication equipment. Another one of her soldiers fell, this time to an explosive device that had been thrown from a nearby building. The explosion was much larger than it should have been, suggesting that the humans had somehow modified their weapons to be more effective. "Fall back to the dropship," Yuna ordered. But when she turned around, she saw that the dropship was surrounded by human soldiers. They had somehow moved into position without being detected and were now controlling the landing zone. "Ship is compromised," reported the pilot over the radio. "Human forces have breached the hull. They are inside the ship." Yuna could not believe what she was hearing. These humans had not only resisted the invasion, they had actually managed to capture a Velthari dropship. This was not supposed to be possible. "All units, emergency extraction," she called into her radio. "Fall back to secondary positions." But there were no secondary positions. The humans had somehow anticipated their every move and were waiting. At every possible escape route, Yuna found herself trapped in an alien city, surrounded by enemies who were fighting in ways that made no sense. These humans were not the primitive, disorganized creatures that the intelligence reports had described. They were something much more dangerous. A human soldier appeared from behind a building, moving with speed and precision that matched any Velthari warrior. He was not wearing heavy armor or carrying advanced weapons, but he moved like someone who had been fighting his entire life. "Surrender," the human called out in accented Velthari. "You are outnumbered and outgunned." Yuna raised her plasma rifle, but the human was already moving. His projectile weapon fired 3 times in rapid succession, and Yuna felt each impact against her armor. Cracks appeared in her chest plate as the kinetic energy overwhelmed her protection systems. She fell too, the ground, her armor failing and her weapon useless. Around her, she could hear the sounds of her soldiers being defeated by an enemy that should have been helpless against them. The last thing she saw was a human female in a police uniform running toward her position. The woman was carrying some kind of improvised explosive device that she had apparently built from materials found. Commander Kale stared at his tactical display in complete shock. Red warning lights blinked across the screen as communication signals from the surface went dark one by one. Every few seconds, another dropship stopped responding to radio calls. "What is the status of the first wave?" he demanded. Communications officer Gina was frantically working at her station, trying to contact the ground forces. Her face was pale as she looked up at the commander. "Sir, we have lost contact with all landing teams. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Moscow. Every single dropship has gone silent." This could not be happening. The first wave consisted of 250 elite soldiers equipped with the most advanced weapons and armor in the Velthari arsenal. They were fighting against humans using primitive technology and disorganized tactics. "System malfunction," declared Intelligence Officer Rin, checking her instruments. "There must be some kind of interference affecting our communications. The humans do not have the capability to defeat our forces." Kale wanted to believe her, but the tactical display told a different story. Not only had the communications stopped, but the biosignals from his soldiers were also disappearing. "Dead soldiers do not send radio messages. Prepare the second wave," he ordered. "Double the force strength and add heavy armor support." Navigation Officer Dane looked up from his station with concern. "Sir, should we not wait for intelligence from the first wave? We do not know what kind of resistance they encountered." "The first wave has been delayed by unexpected circumstances," Kale replied firmly. "The second wave will correct any problems and complete the mission." He refused to consider the possibility that his elite forces had been defeated by primitive humans. The Velthari had never lost a battle in their entire history. They were not going to start now. Chief Strategist Hana was reviewing the invasion plan on her datapad. "Commander, perhaps we should modify our approach. If the humans have some kind of defensive capability that we were not aware of." "The humans have no defensive capability," Kale interrupted. "Our intelligence is perfect. Our planning is perfect. The first wave encountered minor complications that the second wave will resolve." But even as he spoke, he could not shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. In all his years of military service, he had never seen an entire assault force disappear without sending a single status report. Tactical Officer Bora was preparing the second wave launch sequence. "Sir, I recommend we target different locations for the second assault. If there was some kind of trap in the original landing zones..." "Negative," Kale responded. "We attack the same targets with overwhelming force. Whatever stopped the first wave will not be able to handle twice as many soldiers with heavy weapons." The second wave consisted of 500 soldiers supported by armored vehicles and mobile artillery. If the humans had somehow managed to resist the first assault, they would be completely overwhelmed by the second. "Second wave launching now," reported Bora. "All dropships away and proceeding to target zones." Kyle watched the tactical display as the new assault force descended toward Earth's surface. This time, there would be no mistakes. This time, the humans would learn what it meant to face the full power of the Velthari Empire. Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, something remarkable was happening. In Seoul, Captain Minho was standing in the wreckage of the alien landing zone, examining pieces of advanced technology that had fallen from the destroyed dropship. "Get our best engineers down here immediately," he ordered his radio operator. "I want these alien weapons studied and copied within the hour." Similar scenes were playing out in cities around the world. Human military forces were not celebrating their victory over the first wave. Instead, they were learning. In Tokyo, Colonel Kenji held up a piece of Velthari armor that had been damaged by conventional bullets. "Look at this," he told his staff officers. "The alien protection is designed to stop energy weapons, but it has weak points against kinetic impact." "What does that mean?" asked one of his subordinates. "It means we know how to kill them," Kenji replied. In New York, Detective Martinez was working with Army engineers to reverse engineer an alien plasma rifle. The weapon was incredibly advanced, but its basic operating principles were not difficult to understand. "If we can figure out how to recharge these power cells," she said, "we can turn their own weapons against them." The humans were doing something that no other species in Velthari history had ever done. Instead of panicking or surrendering when faced with superior technology, they were adapting. They were learning from their first contact with the aliens, and using that knowledge to prepare for the next attack. Back on the Velthari flagship, the second wave was approaching their target zones. "Landing in 60 seconds, reported Bora. "All systems functioning normally. No sign of resistance." But the humans were ready this time. They had studied the alien tactics during the first assault and had prepared countermeasures. They knew where the dropships would land, what weapons the aliens would use, and how their armor could be defeated. Captain Minho was positioned on a rooftop overlooking the main square where the first alien ship had landed. Around him, Korean soldiers were hidden in buildings throughout the area, armed with both conventional weapons and captured alien technology. "Here they come," he said into his radio as alien dropships appeared in the sky above Seoul. This time, the aliens were not landing in an empty square filled with curious civilians. This time, they were landing in a carefully prepared kill zone. The first alien soldiers to step out of their dropships found themselves under immediate attack from multiple directions, but these were not the random, uncoordinated shots that had surprised the first wave. This was a precisely planned ambush using weapons that the humans now knew could penetrate alien armor. "Contact!" shouted Major Hyuk as his squad opened fire with modified alien weapons. The energy bolts were much more effective against Velthari armor than conventional bullets, and the aliens began falling immediately. In Tokyo, Colonel Kenji had prepared an even more sophisticated trap. His engineers had rigged the alien landing zone with explosives made from captured Velthari technology. When the second wave dropships landed, they triggered a chain reaction that destroyed half of the assault force before they could even exit their vehicles. "Target the survivors," he ordered. "Do not let any of them escape." The second wave lasted longer than the first, but the outcome was the same. The humans had learned from their first encounter and had used that knowledge to devastating effect. Ante, the Velthari flagship, Commander Kale watched in horror as the second wave also went silent. "This is impossible," he whispered. Communications Officer Gina was receiving fragments of radio transmissions from the surface. Most of it was static, but some messages were getting through. "Sir, I am picking up human communications," she reported. They are talking about alien weapons and technology. It sounds like they are studying our equipment." Intelligence Officer Rin was monitoring human military frequencies and was making a disturbing discovery. "Commander, the human forces are sharing information between their different military units. They are coordinating a global response to our invasion. This was not supposed to happen. The intelligence reports had said that human nations could not work together because they were constantly fighting each other. But somehow, the alien invasion had caused them to unite against a common enemy." "Sir," called Tactical Officer Bora, "I am detecting energy signatures from the planet's surface. The humans appear to be using our own weapons against our forces." Kale felt a cold fear spreading through his body. Not only had the humans defeated 2 full assault waves, but they had also managed to capture and use Velthari technology. In just a few hours, they had reverse-engineered weapons that had taken the Velthari centuries to develop. "How is this possible?" he asked. Chief Strategist Hana was reviewing combat data from the failed landings. "Commander, I think we made a fundamental error in our analysis of human capabilities. Look at this footage from the Seoul engagement. The holographic display showed human soldiers using Velthari plasma rifles, with modifications that should not have been possible. They had somehow figured out how to increase the weapon's power output and had turned them into more effective tools of war. And here, Hana continued, showing more footage, this human commander has organized a defense strategy that uses our own dropship flight patterns against us. They learned our approach vectors from the first wave and used that information to predict where the second wave would land. The horrible truth was becoming clear. The humans were not the primitive, helpless creatures that the Velthari had expected. They were something far more dangerous. A species that could learn and adapt faster than their enemies could change tactics. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Gina, "we are receiving a transmission from the surface. It appears to be from the humans themselves." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of a human male in a military uniform. Behind him, Kyle could see soldiers from many different nations working together, sharing weapons and information. To the alien fleet, the human spoke in accented but understandable Velthari. "I am General Junho of the Republic of Korea Armed Forces. I am speaking for all the military forces of Earth." Kyle stared at. The bridge of the Velthari flagship had never been so quiet. Commander Kale stood frozen in front of the main display, staring at the countdown timer that showed how much time remained before the human ultimatum expired. 28 seconds. Around him, his officers waited for orders that he was not sure how to give. In his entire military career, spanning over 60 years of service, he had never faced a situation like this. The Velthari Empire had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never encountered an enemy that could defeat their forces so quickly and completely. "Sir," Navigation Officer Dane called out, his voice shaking slightly. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. The readings are unprecedented." Tactical Officer Bora was studying her instruments with growing alarm. "Commander, the energy output from Earth has increased by over 300% in the past 20 minutes. The humans have somehow created a planetary defense grid using our own technology. This was beyond anything in their military manuals. Not only had the humans defeated 2 full assault waves, but they had also managed to reverse engineer alien technology and build new weapons in less than half an hour." "Show me the energy readings," Kyle ordered. The main display changed to show a tactical view of Earth's surface. Bright points of light marked locations where human forces were gathering alien technology and converting it into defensive systems. The lights were spreading across the planet like a web, connecting cities and military bases into a unified network. "This is impossible," whispered Intelligence Officer Rin. "Human technology is not advanced enough to interface with our systems. It should take them years to understand how our weapons work." But the evidence was right there on the screen. Human engineers had not only figured out how to use Velthari weapons, but they had also improved them. The energy readings showed power levels that exceeded the original design specifications. "How are they doing this?" Kale asked. Chief Strategist Hana had been analyzing combat footage and biological data from the failed invasion. Her findings were disturbing. "Commander, I believe we made a fundamental error in our assessment of human capabilities," she said, bringing up detailed scans on her workstation. "We treated them as a primitive version of ourselves, but they are not. They are something completely different." She showed biological data on the main screen. "Look at these readings from the combat zones. Human brain activity increases dramatically during stressful situations. Their neural processing speed under combat conditions is 320% faster than our baseline measurements." Kale studied the data with growing concern. "What does this mean?" "It means that when humans are fighting for their lives, they think faster than we do," Hana explained. "Their brains are designed to adapt to new threats in real time. This is why they were able to analyze our tactics and develop countermeasures so quickly." Intelligence Officer Rin had accessed human databases during the invasion and was making even more disturbing discoveries. "Sir, I have been reviewing human historical records," she reported. "Our intelligence analysis was incomplete. We studied their recent military conflicts, But we missed something crucial about their entire species. Explain, Kale ordered. The humans call themselves persistence hunters, Rin said, reading from her data screen. They evolved as predators that kill by never giving up. Their entire species is built around the concept of adapting to new challenges and overcoming superior opponents through determination and intelligence. The countdown timer showed 15 seconds remaining. Sir, Communications Officer Gina interrupted. We are receiving another transmission from Earth. The main screen switched to show a young human female in a military uniform. Behind her, Kyle could see a massive construction project where humans were assembling weapons using Velthari technology. The speed and efficiency of their work was remarkable. Greetings, the human said in perfect Velthari. I am Major Suman of the Republic of Korea Space Command. Space Command? Repeated Sub-Commander Yuna. The humans do not have space-based military forces. We do now. Major Suman replied with a smile that seemed friendly but somehow dangerous. We formed it about 20 minutes ago. We have been very busy since your arrival. She turned slightly, allowing the camera to show more of the activity behind her. Humans were working with incredible speed and coordination, taking apart alien dropships and rebuilding the components into new configurations. We have analyzed your fleet composition, the Major continued. 17 capital ships, 43 escort vessels, standard energy shield configurations, predictable weapon systems. Your tactics are very methodical. We appreciate that quality. It makes you easy to plan for. 10 seconds remaining on the countdown. Commander, she addressed, Kale directly, somehow knowing exactly who was in command of the alien fleet. You spent 10,000 years preparing to invade Earth. We have spent the last 25 minutes preparing to defend against you. The difference is that we learn very quickly when our survival depends on it. 5 seconds. We also learn from our enemies, Major Suman added. Thank you for teaching us about energy weapons, force field technology, and faster-than-light travel. We will make good use of these lessons. 0 seconds. The timer reached 0, and Earth's surface erupted with light. Energy weapons based on Velthari technology but modified with human innovations fired upward from positions all around the planet. The beams were brighter and more powerful than anything the aliens had ever seen. Evasive action, Kyle shouted. All ships, maximum defensive power. But it was too late. The human weapons struck the Velthari fleet with devastating accuracy. Ships that had never been damaged in centuries of warfare found their shields failing under the assault. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, reported Damage Control Officer Juan. The human weapons are penetrating our armor. How is this possible? Demanded Kale. Our shield should stop their energy beams. Tactical Officer Bora was analyzing the incoming fire. Sir, they are using our own weapon technology, but they have modified the frequency and power output. Our shields are calibrated to stop standard Velthari energy weapons. These human modifications are completely different. The flagship shook as another beam struck the hull. Warning alarms sounded throughout the ship as systems began failing. Sir, called Navigation Officer Dane, the humans are not just firing at us. They are scanning our ships with active sensors. They are learning our technology even as they attack us. This was the most terrifying thing Kale had ever heard. The humans were not content to simply drive off the invasion fleet. They were studying Velthari ships during the battle, gathering intelligence that they could use to build even more advanced weapons. All ships, emergency withdrawal, Kyle commanded. Maximum burn. Get us away from this system. As the great Velthari fleet turned to flee, another transmission came from Earth. This time it was General Junho again, and he was no longer smiling politely. To the Velthari Empire, he said, his voice calm and controlled. This is humanity. We have a message for you to take back to your leaders. The transmission showed scenes from the invasion sites where human forces were salvaging alien technology. Engineers were taking apart dropships, scientists were studying energy weapons, and military planners were analyzing tactical data. For 10,000 years you prepared to fight us, General Junho continued. You studied our weapons, learned our tactics, and planned your invasion, but you made one critical mistake. He paused, looking directly into the camera. You assumed that we were like you. You assumed that we were civilized. The screen showed footage of human soldiers in action during the failed invasion. They moved, with speed and violence that seemed almost animal-like. They used their environment as a weapon, turned everyday objects into explosives, and adapted their tactics in real time based on what they learned from each encounter. We are not civilized, the general explained. We are survivors. We have spent our entire existence fighting against everything that tried to kill us. Ice ages, plagues, predators, disasters, and most of all, each other. We have turned warfare into an art form. More footage showed human engineers working with captured alien technology. They were not just copying Velthari designs. They were improving them, making them more efficient and more deadly. You gave us your weapons, General Junho said. You gave us your technology. You gave us your tactical knowledge. Now we will use all of these gifts to make ourselves stronger. The transmission switched to show a new type of spacecraft under construction. It was built using human engineering principles, but powered by Velthari energy systems. The combination looked sleek and dangerous. We will remember this day, the general concluded. We will remember that the galaxy contains other intelligent species. We will remember that some of them might be hostile, and we will prepare accordingly. The transmission ended just as the Velthari fleet reached the edge of the solar system. They had escaped, but barely. Several ships had been severely damaged and hundreds of soldiers had been lost. Commander Kale slumped in his command chair, trying to process what had just happened. The greatest military force in Velthari history had been defeated by a species they had considered primitive and helpless. Sir, asked Sub-Commander Yuna quietly, what do we tell the Empire? Kyle looked at the bee. 6 months had passed since the failed Velthari invasion of Earth. In that time, humanity had undergone the most rapid technological advancement in its history. The alien technology left behind during the brief battle had been studied, understood, and improved upon by human engineers and scientists working around the clock. Ambassador Jiho stood on the bridge of humanity's first faster-than-light starship, the Soul's Vengeance. The vessel was a testament to human ingenuity, combining Velthari energy systems with human engineering principles to create something that was more advanced than anything either species had built alone. Status report, she requested from Captain Minjae, who was seated at the command station. All systems are functioning normally, he replied. We are maintaining course for the Velthari home system. Estimated arrival time is 2 hours. Behind them, a fleet of 30 human starships followed, in formation. Each ship was crewed by the best soldiers, scientists, and diplomats that Earth could provide. They were not coming as conquerors, but they were certainly not coming defenseless. The past 6 months had changed everything for humanity. The discovery that intelligent alien life existed had unified the nations of Earth in a way that nothing else could have accomplished. Old conflicts had been set aside as every government worked together to prepare for whatever might come next. General Junho, now serving as the overall commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces, appeared on the communication screen from his flagship. Ambassador, we are receiving long-range sensor data from the Velthari system, he reported. Their defensive stations are powering up, but they are not targeting us. It appears they are more interested in protecting themselves than in attacking us. This was exactly what the human leadership had hoped for. The goal of this mission was not to start a war, but to establish diplomatic relations from a position of strength. The Velthari needed to understand that humanity was now a spacefaring civilization that could defend itself. Any sign of their main fleet? Asked Ambassador Jiho. Negative, replied General Junho. Intelligence suggests that most of their military forces have been pulled back to defend their core worlds. They appear to be more concerned about us than we are about them. This made sense. The Velthari had spent 10,000 years building their reputation as the dominant military power in the galaxy. In one day, a species they had never heard of had destroyed their invasion force and captured their technology. The psychological impact of that defeat would be enormous. Lieutenant Nari, serving as the communications officer aboard the Soul's Vengeance, looked up from her station. Ambassador, we are being hailed by the Velthari home system. They are requesting our intentions. Open a channel, Jiho ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Velthari official in elaborate robes. Unlike the military officers from the invasion force, this alien seemed more focused on ceremony and diplomacy than warfare. Greetings, humans, the Velthari said in their own language, which was automatically translated by the ship's computer systems. I am High Counselor Day of the Velthari Diplomatic Corps. We welcome you to our system. Ambassador Jiho could hear the hesitation in his voice. The Velthari were clearly unsure how to handle this situation. They had probably never dealt with a species that had defeated them militarily and then arrived for peaceful negotiations. Greetings, High Counselor, she replied formally. I am Ambassador Jiho, representing the United Earth government. We come seeking dialogue and understanding between our peoples. May I ask the purpose of your impressive fleet? High Counselor Day inquired, trying to sound diplomatic while obviously concerned about the 30 warships that had just entered his solar system. Security, Jiho replied simply. 6 months ago, your military forces attempted to invade our world without any prior communication or negotiation. We want to make sure that such misunderstandings do not happen again. The Velthari official was quiet for a moment, probably conferring with others off-screen. When he returned his attention to the communication, he seemed more composed. The invasion was a regrettable mistake, he said carefully. Our intelligence regarding your species was clearly inadequate. We had no understanding of your true capabilities or peaceful intentions. Ambassador Jiho smiled, but it was not entirely friendly. Your intelligence was adequate enough to plan a conquest that would have enslaved or killed billions of humans. We are here to make sure that your future intelligence gathering is more accurate. Captain Minjae was monitoring the tactical display and noticed something interesting. Ambassador, I am detecting multiple Velthari ships approaching our position. They appear to be escorts rather than an attack force. High Counselor, Jiho addressed the alien diplomat. We appreciate the escort, but it is not necessary. Our ships are quite capable of defending themselves. I have no doubt of that, High Counselor Day replied quickly. The escort is for ceremonial purposes only. We wish to show proper respect for your arrival. This was a significant change in attitude from the arrogant invasion force that had attacked Earth 6 months earlier. The Velthari had clearly learned to take humanity seriously. We would be honored to meet with your leadership, Ambassador Jiho said. However, we will need to establish certain protocols first. Of course. What do you require? Jiho had prepared for this moment. The terms she was about to present had been carefully crafted by Earth's best diplomats and military strategists. First, we require a formal apology for the unprovoked attack on Earth and compensation for the damages caused during your invasion attempt. High Counselor Day nodded immediately. That can be arranged. Second, we require the establishment of a permanent communication channel between our governments to prevent future misunderstandings. Agreed. Third, we require access to your star charts and information about other intelligent species in this region of the galaxy. Humanity needs to understand who else might pose a threat to our world. The Velthari diplomat hesitated at this request. Star charts were valuable military intelligence, and sharing them would give humans significant strategic advantages. This may require discussion with our military leadership, he said carefully. Take all the time you need, Ambassador Jiho replied. We will wait in orbit while you consider our terms. She signaled Captain Minjae to close the communication channel. The human fleet settled into a defensive formation around the Velthari homeworld, making it clear that they were not going anywhere until their demands were met. Over the next several hours, frantic communications passed between Velthari government officials and military leaders. The humans had placed them in an impossible situation. They could not attack the human fleet without risking another devastating defeat, but they also could not simply ignore the presence of 30 alien warships in their home system. Finally, High Counselor Day contacted the human fleet again. Ambassador Jiho, we have reviewed your terms. The Velthari Empire accepts your conditions and wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. Excellent. Jiho replied. We are prepared to begin negotiations immediately. What followed were 3 days of intense discussions between human and Velthari representatives. The aliens were shocked to discover just how much humanity had learned about galactic politics, military technology, and interstellar economics in just 6 months. The humans had not wasted time after the invasion. Every piece of Velthari technology had been analyzed and reverse-engineered. Every tactical recording had been studied for intelligence about alien military capabilities. Every database had been searched for information about other species and political relationships. You have been very thorough, High Counselor Day commented during one of the negotiation sessions. Your species learns remarkably quickly. We learn fast because we have to, replied Ambassador Jiho. For most of our history, the penalty for not learning quickly enough was death. This has made us very good at adaptation. By the end of the negotiations, the Velthari had agreed to all of humanity's demands. They would provide star charts, establish communication protocols, and pay compensation for the failed invasion. In return, humanity would share some of their technological innovations and agree to peaceful coexistence. But the most important outcome of the negotiations was not written in any treaty. It was the new understanding that both species had gained about each other. The Velthari had learned that humanity was not a primitive species to be conquered, but a dangerous opponent that could adapt and improve faster than any civilization they had ever encountered. Humanity had learned that they were not alone in the galaxy, and that some of their neighbors might be hostile. This knowledge would drive human expansion and technological development for generations to come. As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, General Junho sent a final message to the Velthari leadership. To the Velthari Empire, he transmitted, Humanity thanks you for this educational experience. We have learned much from our brief conflict and our subsequent negotiations. We hope that our future relations will be peaceful and mutually beneficial. He paused, looking directly into the camera. However, we want to make one thing absolutely clear. Earth is now under the protection of the human star fleet. Any future attempts at invasion or conquest will be met with force. We have learned to defend